Oh wow, it feels so amazing to be back at Blizzcon after all these years. Taliesin, quick, the new expansion reveal is about to begin.
I'm coming!
Hey, nice cosplay. Tally, what are you supposed to be?
Yeah, nice one, Evie. Obviously, I have come as next expansion. Oh man, it's going to be so amazing. Seafaring adventures, privateers, beyond the western storms, customizable boats. It's going to be the best expansion and BlizzCon ever, and I predicted it all. Belialar is going to eat my shit and hair.
Okay, Tally. Sorry, Belle.
He loves it.
What if it's not pirates, though?
I never said it was pirates, Evitel. I said it was privateers. I said it was conquistadors.
Okay, I literally don't know what that word means, but I am happy for you. Oh, whoa. Did you feel that?
Yeah, I did.
The air just got warmer and my skin just got really goosebumpy.
I feel 10 years younger.
Thank God. My eyesight has been cured.
Evitel, Chris Metzen has just come on stage.
Here it is, Tally, the next expansion.
We have decided to give you a glimpse at your next 3 expansion sets. World of Warcraft, the War Within. You will be descending into the heart of Azeroth. Midnight to the fabled lands of Quel'Thalas, the last Titan to the wintry lands of Northrend.
I'm sorry, it wasn't pirates, Tally.
Yeah! I never said it was pirates! I said it was conquistadors!
I don't know what that is, Tally. Do you mean conquistadors?
I never said it was pirates!
Look, Tally, do you want a friendship bracelet?
Yeah. You suck!
Tally, the weekly reset needs your script.
I have no script. Not after what I've seen. Not after what I've done.
You are not your past, Tally. And hey, you did say Avaloran was wrong.
I did say that, didn't I?
Oh, and you did predict void stuff.
Yeah, that was a very left field and out there prediction, yeah.
Very insightful. Come on, Tally. I trust you. We trust you.
Do you think Belle will still eat my shit and hair?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him. Okay, sure, Tally. Let's go. Just get your tie on, okay?
Hello, Internet, and hello, Anaheim, California! Welcome to the Weekly Reset Live, bringing you all the WoW news and opinions from BlizzCon 2023. A BlizzCon which, and look, you can call me a shill if you like, but which I genuinely consider to be the best BlizzCon for like the last 4 years at least. Hi, thank you. The BlizzCon, which gave us about 3 times as much WoW news as we were expecting. A BlizzCon where the only thing louder than the cheers that greeted Chris Metzen revealing a trio of new World of Warcraft expansions was the almighty sigh of relief when none of them turned out to be that shitty Avaloran leak that everyone believed. And actually, can we please take a moment for Storms of Avaloran? F's in chat. Not only was it revealed to be wrong and fake, it will go down in history now as being the most wrong fake leak ever, being that it's the only one ever to be wrong 3 times. And you know, I say everyone, not everyone was fooled. That's not quite true, is it? And you know me, internet. I'm not one to go on about it when I'm right about something, but it's BlizzCon, it's a special occasion, so just this once, I did get this Taliesin was right emote blown up, printed and framed, and can you keep it here, right by me, throughout the entire episode? It looks pretty nice, doesn't it? I thought maybe you'd all like some too. So if you look under your seats right now, no, don't, there's nothing under your seats. That I know of. Of course, mostly I was not right about anything at all. Our Beyond the Western Storms prediction? Completely wrong. 3 times. Our prediction bingo card? Out the window, because all of what Chris Metzen so masterfully presented to us amazingly managed to stay completely unleaked and defy any prediction that I've seen. But man, he made us wait for it though, didn't he? The last segment of an extremely long opening ceremony. And I have to admit that as that ceremony progressed, I have never been as legit nervous as I was this year. I was like genuinely scared of what was about to be announced. I suppose just because for the first time ever, I really had no idea. And that feeling wasn't helped by Chris Metzen, who was charismatic and wonderful and the physical embodiment of hype, obviously, but who took so long to actually reveal anything that it started to feel like he had been told just before he went on stage that actually there was nothing to reveal after all. And dude, just wing it for 20 minutes, yeah? You'll be absolutely fine. Just geek is that shit, you know? So it was with awe, excitement, but also plain relief I felt when he gave us, when he fed us from his hand, the Worldsoul Saga. And what is the Worldsoul Saga? Well, at its most basic, it is an answer to the question, is World of Warcraft dead? And the answer is, I'm glad you asked. Here's a roadmap for the next 4 to 6 years of content updates. GG. The War Within, Midnight, and the Last Titan, or as I like to call them, Xal'atath, Xal'atath, and Xal'atath, are the next 3 expansions which will tell one overarching narrative, a narrative which, according to Chris Metzen, will attempt to tie up the loose ends of the first 20 years of this game's story, which might mean sorting out the whole Void thing, and the whole Titan thing, and the whole Worldsoul thing. It might mean cleaning the slate for new adventures afterwards. It might mean the birth of Azeroth's Worldsoul, a scenario that you would imagine lends itself pretty well to the whole world revamp that everyone wants. It might mean a quicker content cadence than even Dragonflight has seen. It might mean shorter expansions. It's hard to tell right now. Honestly, the only thing that it definitely means, Xal'atath fan art. Just shit tons of Xal'atath fan art everywhere, all the time. But joking aside, how awesome is this? The audacity of it, I just can't get over it. To just come out and announce 3 expansions at once. It's unprecedented, obviously. It's bold, it's ballsy, it's just the kind of excessive display of confidence and ambition that honestly, we all needed. And I can only speak for the vibe here at BlizzCon, obviously, but I have never known a buzz around a WoW expansion reveal quite like this. To have the future of WoW so explicitly spelled out, so secure, so pre-purchasable. I bought it. The saga as a concept was introduced to us in the form of a new cinematic featuring Thrall and Anduin, who frankly looked like Belial Fell after an all-nighter at the Hilton Bar with Towley and Preach. One thing I will say, At least Anduin made it to the opening ceremony, Belle. Belle's here. And actually, a grizzled, bearded Anduin is something that we had on our prediction bingo card. With his chapped lips, blotchy skin, and abject lack of hope, stunningly capturing and portraying perfectly what happens to someone when they're not allowed to play Dragonflight and have to do 2 years of more dailies instead. Makes you look like a crusty Jesse Pinkman who cuts his own hair, apparently. This is an Anduin who, in his own words, and as represented by his non-glowing Charlemagne, has lost his light, still traumatized by the invasion of the jailer's control and the things he was forced to do. I often say that there's a genuine case that you can make that the story of World of Warcraft is basically the story of Anduin Wrynn. He was introduced in vanilla as the boy king of Stormwind in the throne room, and since then, he has had more different models and noses than any other character, as we have watched him grow up and find his way to now. Of course, this event is not a cinematic analysis. We'll have to wait to do that when we get home, but I would not do that in front of Dan Olsen anyway. But many people have pointed out how his pose as he spins around to confront Thrall, Charlemagne extended, is an echo of Arthas in the Wrath cinematic trailer. And it's true, but far more importantly, it also works as a kind of a then and now, with that exact same shot in the BFA trailer, just before he shouts, "For the Alliance!" Kind of like a before and after of that expansion, Shadowlands, and then more Shadowlands for him. From young, angel-faced crying boy who is weirdly even more beautiful when he cries, leading his people proudly, having just called on the light in his moment of need to protect them and to give him strength, full of hope and light, to this, a shell of the young man that he was, no light to speak of, with just the faint lingering of Arthas and the jailer's control still clinging on to him. And I feel like Anduin really is meant to represent all of us in this cinematic, especially those of us that skipped Dragonflight, in that he is just very, very tired and ground down from the events of Shadowlands. He just wants to be left alone until Chris Metzen comes along, gets him hyped up for the new WoW expansion despite himself. My favorite part of the cinematic, obviously, is where they're discussing the voice that they're both hearing, whilst looking at the Sword of Silithus, and Anduin says, "Who is it, Thrall?" And Thrall says, "I don't know." And somewhere in the world, all you can hear is diamond on diamond as Magni just face palms in exasperation and says, like, seriously, why did I even bother? Even the great skip and expansion here and there, and in Metzen's case, that was BFA, you know. But yeah, it has now taken me longer to get to explaining these new expansions than Chris Metzen did, so let's properly look at the future of WoW. The first expansion is, of course, The War Within, a name we would never have guessed in a million years, mostly because it's not very good. But which, as an expansion, looks great. It's got Xal'atath and Alleria and underground zones, half of which don't actually look like they're underground, which I just want to say, smart move, nice, well done. It's got Xal'atath and airships and cool Crusader guys, who, by the way, are a group of Arathi who splintered off and founded a new kingdom across the sea. So, you know, maybe Avaloran is back on after all. An ultra-evolved Void Nerubians and Xal'atath and Kobold and 2 new playable races, Dark Elves and Earthen Dwarves. 2 races that I think will... Oh, right, sorry, no, not Dark Elves, Delves. Every time I read it, though. Sorry, there is one new playable race, the Earthen Dwarves. They're like dwarves, but they're made of stone and rock. Both body types can have beards made of rock. They're Horde and Alliance. I never wanted Dark Elves anyway. This is the allied race that the player base has been crying out for like forever. And that's why the hype for this Earthen Dwarf allied race, off the scale, especially on the forums. where the player base reached levels of euphoria as their number one request, the thing they wanted more than anything, had finally been delivered unto them. People were posting long messages just thanking Blizzard, and even though it was just words on a website, you could tell they were crying when they wrote them. With joy, with gratitude, with love for their fellow player, no, it was a shit show, obviously. That's just so lame. I'm sorry. Who actually wants to play as a rock? The devs are physically incapable to make good decisions. Ugly dwarves insulting women by giving them beards. World of Warcraft. This is super lame and the worstest thing ever. The players want sexy razzes like elves, Draenei, human, elves, etc. And I've got to admit, I'm not super excited about the Earth and Allied race. They're basically just dwarf recolors, and yeah, they all have beards, which is great, but honestly, all the dwarves in WoW should be able to have beards anyway, so we are clearing the lowest possible bar right there. They're not the worst thing about The War Within. That would be the title, The War Within. They're basically just okay. They're definitely fine. I think we can all agree they are dwarves made of stone. Otherwise, I really like the look of War Within. I think having Khazalgar as the first zone and capital above ground is a very good idea. I love how Loch Modney is, and it all looks around there. I love the crystal on the roof zone, but apparently the crystal changes to a void version, like an occasional weather effect, basking the zone in purple nastiness and new dangers. A process that makes me think maybe this big gold crystal might be Naru adjacent. And Xal'atath. She's perfect, she's everything, and if Blizz thinks I'm going to fight her, frankly, they are misunderstanding me on a fundamental level. Like, this BlizzCon's been good, okay? I would go as far as to say that at times it has been joyous and cathartic. But can you imagine how good next BlizzCon is going to be with 2,000 Xal'atath cosplays to enjoy? And honestly, I don't even mind the title, The War Within. It's fine too. I just want to know, who is this in guy that we're supposed to be at war with? That's all. I was going to cut that one as well. It was 3 a.m. Get off my case. Now, obviously, when it comes to the other two expansions, we know much, much less. Basically, just a couple of sentences that Chris Metzen said about each. Chapter 2 of the Worldsoul Saga is Midnight, a pleasingly on-the-nose title for 12.0, and will be set in Kel'Thalas, which is being overrun by the Void, who are after the Sunwell. And you know what? That's a world revamp right there, isn't it? Presumably Eversong, Ghostlands, Zulaman, and Quel'Danas, maybe even that weird unexplored patch will appear as well. Completely reworked, a 4-zone expansion continent, which is going to be very easy to do since they are all instanced off from the Eastern Kingdoms now anyway. Can we finally have flying there? Can we finally rebuild after the ravages of the Third War, just in time to get ravaged by the Void? And if they're really lucky, Xal'atath. The Last Titan is described by Chris as uncovering a conspiracy regarding the Titan's true intentions towards the world and her civilizations, and is set in Northrend, another world revamp, or at least a few zones of the continent, with Ulduar being specifically mentioned. Also worth pointing out, of course, that the recent novel, War of the Scaleborn, features Iridikron's home, Harrow's Deep, which many readers think by its description must be underneath Icecrown. Now, if that turns out to be true, it definitely suggests that Iridikron is going to make it through the next 3 expansions, which, fair play, is commitment on Blizzard's part to developing an antagonist. I have big questions about the Worldsoul Saga, like how long are these expansions going to last? Chris Metzen says that they'll be quicker than we're used to, and a lot of people are making a lot of different speculations and assumptions as to what that actually means. Does it mean faster releases, or less content, or both, or neither? Because if the War Within is going to run at, say, just 2 raids, I'm not necessarily against that in principle, but I'd like to know why I have to pay $90 for an expansion which will ultimately have less content than Dragonflight, which I got for cheaper. Blizz have said that they plan for the whole saga to have been completed by 2030, when my son will be going to secondary school, which at its absolute slowest suggests slightly faster releases than we're used to now, but not massively so. And we know that Midnight is currently in development alongside The War Within on at least some level, so it could be a lot faster than that. There's also a part of me, and I know this is silly, but I get a little bit sad when I think about how we're not going to have a proper WoW expansion reveal for a really long time now. I know Midnight and Last Titan will still get reveals with new features and new systems and changes and other hype stuff, but that's just not the same as going in blind wondering what an expansion is going to be. It's going to make leak season weirdly specific as well. And you know how I love fake leak season. It's going to be a genuine tragedy for me and my bank account. And then for all we know, we could get our first glimpses of Midnight next BlizzCon, or maybe the reveal for that expansion won't be at a BlizzCon at all if jumping off the 2-year expansion cycle just throws things off time-wise. On the plus side, I do really like how Midnight and The Last Titan are set in existing zones, which will finally be updated. The thing I like most about the saga is just how ambitious it is. We said before BlizzCon that it felt like we were being prepared for a bigger than usual expansion announcement in some way, to the extent that if it was a standard average X-Pack reveal, that would be incredibly disappointing to most players. A challenge which Blizzard definitely delivered on. I like how by revealing these 3 expansions all at once, by making them all part of a grand, overarching narrative, it positions story at the center of it all, as the main selling point really, as the driving force behind everything else, all the other features that we will see in each expansion. It's a huge change for the franchise. It's a brave change. And I think that despite the concerns that I've mentioned, it's a change I'm extremely excited about. Is that hopium? Yes. Yeah, it is a whole fleet of hopium blimps. And to celebrate that, I have printed off 500 hopium stickers for you all to indulge in and enjoy yourselves with. So if you look underneath your chairs right now, I'm joking, don't look under your chairs. I wouldn't put them under your chairs. I put them in this bag. You get hopium. You get hopium! Everyone gets hopium!
So, Taliesin was right! Oh, sorry, looks like this is an old version of the script. But to be fair, even though he was basically completely wrong, the best we can say is that he perhaps wasn't quite as wrong as everyone else. One thing you've got to hold up your hands and admit he absolutely nailed was the prediction of a pre-purchase, including a dragon riding mount, which itself unlocked access to a series of dragon races, completing which would award extra transmog appearances. Of all the things he said which seemed nailed on but were completely off track, this weirdly specific prediction came absolutely true. Complete.
Good job, Tyler.
Cheers, man.
Completing special dragon races on the Storm Griffin, not available in the $50 base edition pre-purchase, will unlock a special lightning upgrade effect on the upgradable Storm Rider's attire transmog, only available in the $70 heroic edition and up. Other unlocks in the $90 epic edition include beta access, which is fine, honestly. The more people, the better. And 3-day early access to The War Within, which, fine, too. Who cares? No, it was a shit show, obviously. You weren't expecting that, were you?
Scam choice. Total hype killer, honestly. Greedy, greedy, greedy. This is shockingly bad. In before Taliesin tries to tell us that it's a good thing.
Are you going to tell us it's a good thing, Taliesin?
No, Evitel. No, I'm not. Because I've got a date with from the Wowhead Comments mum.
Okay, well, no. Obviously, it sucks. You can rightly point out that it won't impact anyone's progress and that other MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV sell the exact same kind of access, and you'd be right, but no, it still sucks. It's the worst kind of predatory FOMO bullshit because, of course, you're not paying $70 to play earlier than everyone else, you're paying to not play later than them. And in a game when one of the most exciting parts of any new release is the buzz around the community and in-game when a new expansion releases, that sucks.
Yes. Tell her how it is, Evie.
Thanks, man. And I'll be there on opening night, waiting excitedly with the rest of Argent Dawn EU. Shout out Argent Dawn EU. Yeah, anyone here? No? Yeah. I'll be waiting for the game to go live, except for the members of my guild who didn't pre-purchase the Epic Edition. And that just dividing the community into basic haves and have-nots on launch night? Nah, I blame Phil Spencer. Can I say that? Let's take a closer look at the key features of the War Within, because Blizzard's monetization philosophies are horrible, but Dragonflight's gameplay philosophies are top tier, arguably the best the game has ever seen. Does the War Within continue these philosophies or walk them back? The What's Next and Deep Dive panels would explain more, as well as various dev interviews that happened across the BlizzCon weekend. There's loads of little details we've picked up. Dynamic flying on all flying mounts is being sold as a War Within feature, but is actually planned to appear implemented in-game, game-wide as early as 10.2.5. And when we say all flying mounts, then there are some exceptions, but honestly, not as many as you'd think. Anything with wings is obviously good, but we've been told, as is sometimes the way at BlizzCon, that teams of animators are working on making most mounts that don't have wings and that do that walking but in the air thing dynamic compatible too, like the Grove Warden Moose and the Unicorn mounts and the Kitten mounts dynamically running and swooping, and the Magic Carpet mount too. None of these can be officially confirmed but are apparently on the table. We've learned from a dev tweet that Druid Flight Form will have a dynamic option, and you do have to be careful with dev tweets around BlizzCon because, you know, there are two pretty big hotel bars around here. But this one seems legit. I totally buy it. Likewise, Drakthir racial ability Soar is becoming what it always should have been from the start. Just dynamic dragon riding, but without a dragon. I mean, not without a dragon because you need a Drakthir, but without riding a dragon. And dynamic flying will be enabled in the War Within content from day one, with old school flying unlocking upon completing the campaign. Like in Dragonflight, these underground zones are apparently built with flying in mind. The biggest bulk of information, though, was delivered by Ian Hazacustis in his deep dive panel. Oh, and the thing I love about Ian is, you know when he's about to deliver a banger. He struts on stage with that little Ian swagger in his step. There's occasionally a costume change, but you can legit tell from his vibe when he's about to start dishing out the dubs. It happened in the Legion What's Next panel, where not only did he announce 7.2 and the Broken Shore, but also Argus too. And when he came on stage this BlizzCon, same smirk, same swagger, we knew as soon as he started this, it was going to be good. Ian was on fire in this deep dive. He was all killer, no filler. He was Ian Hazacustis. He talked Dark Elves, the new outdoor content and progression track in Dragonflight. Truth be told, these are the features that I'm kind of least confident in, mostly because I come out of any discussion about them feeling the same way I felt about Torghast after the Shadowlands reveal or Warfronts after the BFA reveal. Mainly, I think that sounds like fun, but I definitely don't fully understand it, but it's probably nothing to worry about. What could possibly go wrong? Like, I get it. There are little instances, seamless instances that you walk straight into, which are scaled in difficulty between 1 and 5 players, so you can absolutely do delves solo. That's kind of the point. And which aren't set in stone, locked-in experiences. Each delve can change between different versions with different challenges and fights and puzzles, and all end with a treasure reward, which includes working towards unique cosmetic items, a customizable flying mount, but also the Great Vault. Ian told us the plan is that players should be able to get up to heroic level raid level gear from your delve vault slots. That's an unprecedented level of gear progression from world content right there. If it works out and delves are a success, then, well, thanks, because it'll be one of the main ways I get to gear my characters. I'll be honest, raiding has been difficult for me in the recent years. The last organized raid I took part in was Xal'atath, where I had to duck out early because I literally went into labor with our first child during Vexiona progression. I mean, I stayed until we killed her, obviously. I'm not a scrub. I'm not a scrub, but if I'd been gearing through delves, then they're only supposed to last like 15 minutes, so I'd have gotten to the hospital significantly earlier, that's all. Like so much of the War Within, delves are intended to be a permanent new feature, with new ones appearing in basically every expansion from now on, alongside world quests. In the end, this is one of those features like Torghast or Islands or Warfronts where we really have to see them ourselves to truly see what they are all about. I think, and honestly, I don't completely blame you if you're cautious about hyping delves too much. Unlike Warbands, which are 100% the most hype thing ever and deserve all the love. Warbands deserve an effing statue in the town square because warbands are a fundamental rebuilding of WoW's architecture that basically makes everything account-wide between all our characters. A shared in-game bank that can store reagents that can be used in crafting from the bank. Basically, all currencies account-wide. Renown and reputation account-wide. Just in the War Within initially, but eventually retroactively applied to first Dragonflight and then other past expansions. Shared achievements and achievement progress. Account-wide transmog unlocks regardless of the armor class of the character that loots the item. Whew. But all of that pales into insignificance compared to the true best part of the feature. The fucking cool camping scene character select screen. Oh my god. Which shows your favorite 5 tunes just chilling together. I mean, Warbands is life. Warbands is love. I'm going to rename both my kids after Warbands. I love them so much. I'm getting a tattoo of Warbands on, like, my face. I love them that much. Some suggestions, though, please, if I may. Variable background images from my camp tableau. The image we've seen is a cool-looking Azure Span-style snowy setting, but it would be cool to have the location of your warband camp be changeable, either as a customization choice or representing where in the world you last logged out. How about being able to name your warband? How about warband tabards? A theme tune? Okay, a theme tune is a bit much, but you get what I'm saying.
What about romance options?
What about romance options, Tally? The other big feature is Hero Talents, which is basically a choice of 2 new separate mini talent trees to choose between for each spec in the game, which allow further customization and specialization in terms of power, as well as thematic visual changes too. So you're not going to be a balanced druid anymore, you're going to be a Keeper of the Grove balanced druid, or a Chosen of Elune balanced druid. These are as changeable and fluid as normal talents and are mostly pretty passive bonuses to select abilities. Devs has said in interviews that they want to avoid more button bloat. And obviously, testing and balance is super important here, but the idea is great, I think. And look, I'll admit, I'm much more excited about the visual changes choosing between these trees will make, and it's really important to me that those cosmetic changes are leaned into hard, you know? I mean, no point calling me a Dark Ranger, Marks Hunter, if all my abilities don't suddenly look way more Dark Rangery, is there? Oh my god, it's all I want. No point calling me a... Sorry, holy f***, a Rider of the Apocalypse Death Knight? If it doesn't make me look like the coolest motherfucker you've ever seen in your entire life. And I mean, I've got to be careful with that kind of attitude because there's a part of the player base, and I think I'm one of them, that really wants this to be class skins, where ideally these trees would be purely cosmetic unlocks that just unlock and change what all our spells look like thematically, and that's not what this system is intended to be. This is a legit talent tree that impacts your performance and will require you to pick the right options for the content you're doing. Of course, this means there's a real danger of, say, Voidweaver Shadow Priest obviously being the more powerful option, and so there's no real choice at all. All Shadow Priests are going to be Voidweavers all the time. And that's a situation that can only really be avoided with careful testing and balancing. But like Delves and Warbands, this is not a mini feature for a mini expansion. These are full-size, legitimate expansion features which will hopefully improve the game in the War Within and beyond. And that's important. I really enjoyed listening to Ian lay these dubs down in the row. I felt like there's a real energy and pride in the team right now. Other smaller bits and bobs. There are no plans for new support specs in the new expansion, which will come as a surprise. I think if augmentation is a thing, then there's a desire for other similar specs to exist. I mean, Grizzled Anduin could really use a therapist spec for one. I think that could be really useful.
On that note, this has been a very long show, so we're going to finish it up there. But I would like to thank all of you for being here and listening to us waffle on about WoW. It's been absolutely wonderful to have you here, and your rapt attention was so polite. Thank you.
Despite the room growing slowly warmer.
I want to thank Evitel and everyone else who's contributed here today. From me, Taliesin. Until next time, cheerio!